Hey John, how are you?
Things are good, Brandon. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. What's going on with you?
I'm here to talk to you about Express Entry today, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about Express Entry. So let's dive into that. Okay, so Express Entry, what do you need to know, guys? Just wanted to do a quick video on this and give you some thoughts because we get a lot of questions, obviously, about Express Entry. The program's been around for a while, but there's still a few little things that people commonly get confused on. So let's do this, John. Let's talk about what it is, why it came about, um, the programs that are involved in it, and how the system works. And then we can wrap it up with what people need to know and how they can kind of interpret how things are going to go. So why don't we dive in? Why don't you let us know what Express Entry is, John?
So, guys, Express Entry is it's. Let me first say what it isn't. It's not an immigration program. Okay, it's not an actual program where you have to find if you're eligible and meet the criteria. What it is, it's a managed system for a pool of candidates, right? So what you do is that you enter into Express Entry based on if you're eligible under one of the programs that Express Entry covers, and if you are, then you go into this pool of candidates. And then what the government does, based on their quotas, their needs, their targets, immigration targets for the year, usually on a biweekly basis, they'll invite people to apply from permanent residence from that pool of candidates. So remember, if you are eligible to enter into Express Entry, you're simply becoming a candidate for one of the immigration programs. You haven't actually applied into any program yet.
Yeah, so I think that's important because the Express Entry, it's an application system. It's not a program. It administers four different types of programs, right, which we can talk about in a second. It was brought about in 2015, and the reason is that it allows the government to control the throttle on the applications in terms of not getting backlogs because the immigration system has been plagued over the years by backlogs and long processing times.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
yeah,
This is
and on top of
why.
that, picking up on what John said, you know, with Express Entry, once you're in there, you're just simply in a pool. You're expressing interest, EOI, an expression of interest, to come to Canada. So basically, you're putting up your hand and saying, pick me, but it's not actually an application. So part of what we saw back, I think, what was that, 2012, with all the
Yeah, it was a mess then. This system has really improved it. I mean, people, when it's working the way it should be working, which is most of the time, people are getting their PR in between 6 to 12 months. And back in the bad old days before Express Entry, depending on where you lived in the world, you could be looking at 2, 4, 10 years.
yeah.
It was really bad. And so
And you had to
Express
send in a
Entry.
paper-based application to Sydney, Nova Scotia, and it was like, it was messy. So, needless to say, this is a pretty nice little system in that respect. But the government, A, was allowed to control the backlog, and B, if you wanted to challenge the government on things and litigate in terms of a judicial review or maybe even a mandamus or something along those lines, you can't do that because you don't actually have an application. So you're just saying, hi, I want to come. That's all it is. So anyways, you need to put your stuff in the pool. You can't win the lottery unless you play. So how do you put yourself in the pool?
Well, then that's the next step. You have to see if you're eligible under one of the three programs that Express Entry covers. One of them is Federal Skilled Worker, one of them is Canadian Experience Class, and one of them, the other third, is Federal Skilled Trades Class. These are three separate programs. Federal Skilled Worker is the one that most people use who are based overseas, who have no work experience in Canada, and you're graded on a combination of personal factors, including language, level of education. When I say language, I mean Canada's official languages, French or English. Your education, your age, how much work experience you have, whether that work experience is skilled. Also, points are given on more consideration in the form of points is given if you have like a relative in Canada. So you're graded on that, and then based on what you score, you have your position in the pool. And then the government says, hey, this draw, we're going to invite everybody who's got 450 points or more. And so if you're at 450 or above, you then get invited to apply for permanent residence. But if you're at 449 or below, you're still in the pool, but you're going to have to wait for the next draw and see where the draw is at.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to break that down. I got so many things to say. So there's 3 different programs, but there's also a mechanism through provincial nominee programs to be able to come through as well. So yeah, and obviously that's the one where everybody's like, yeah, I need a PMP because it's 600 points, which at any given time allows you to basically come to Canada because it is a lot of points. That's why
you mentioned points there. Should we talk a little bit about how you are ranked inside
yeah,
of Express Entry?
Yeah,
Is that a good
sure.
idea?
Why don't you dive into that if you'd like?
Okay. So we're going to get a bit technical here, guys. So pay attention. Maybe get your pencil and paper out, whatever. But in that pool of candidates, you are ranked from 0 to 1,200, right? The maximum you can get is 1,200, and the least amount you can get is 0. And if you get 0, you're basically out of luck. That's obvious. But anyway, how do you get points? Again, education, age, language, work experience, siblings in Canada, job offer in Canada. You can also get extra points. Now, what does that mean for each one of those programs we talked about? Federal Skilled Worker, Canadian Experience Class, or Federal Skilled Trades Class. For Federal Skilled Workers, historically, and Brandon can back me up on this, over the last couple of years, you're not going to get invited to apply under Federal Skilled Worker unless your English is top notch. And I mean, you're getting an IELTS score of 9 or higher on what's called the Canadian Language Benchmark. You got
no, not an IELTS score of 9 or higher, an IELTS score of 777 in reading, writing, listening, or sorry, reading, writing, speaking, or an 8. We'll give you a CLB 9.
Yeah. Thank
an IELTS 9.
That's right. Sorry about that, everybody. So yeah, Brandon's point. Then also you got to have at least 2 post-secondary qualifications or a master's degree or higher, and you got to be around 35 or younger. That's really how Federal Skilled Worker has worked over the last couple of years. So if you're my age, 50 plus, you're out of luck. You're going to have to look at another program. But if you have work experience in Canada, at least a year of it, then you have options under the Canadian Experience Class. You're still going to be ranked based on your age, education, and work experience, but you'll get more points because you've worked in Canada. And depending upon your situation, if you're still working in Canada and you have a job offer, you could get more points there. You're going to be in a slightly more favorable position. And the last, Federal Skilled Trades, that's based upon, if you have work experience as a tradesperson. But again, you're going to be ranked on age and education and whether or not you have a job offer in Canada.
Yeah. So there's a number of different things that you can do to up your score, right? But again, as John was alluding to, like, you're based on your age. So, if you're over 29, when you start getting up like 30 to 35, then what happens is that, your scores are going to go down. And normally, like at 35, it starts to get a little but then when you start getting up closer to 40, depending on where you're applying, like if you're in Canada, that Canadian work experience, like if you're single, it's 40 points, and that can offset the age quite a bit. Excuse me. The language scores are definitely, like, you have to look at what you can impact. So you can't impact your age because your age is always going to keep going down, right? With time. That's the way that works. But you can impact your English and your education. Those are the 2 things that, and actually your work experience too. But your work experience, you're going to cap out. If you've got 3 years of skilled work experience overseas, that's it. That's all you need. And that's top marks in terms of where the CRS points are going to go. So you can't really go much past that. So you're going to have to either do well on your English, or you're going to have to increase your education, or you're going to have to have Canadian work experience. So this is why we've seen such an increase in student applications to Canada as well, because it does allow people to apply under the CEC and get the work permit to be able to get those points. And that actually can impact your CRS points, which are the points that are given to you, the comprehensive ranking score points in both education and work, based on Canadian work experience as well. I know that's like, I think that was a lot of information, I think, there, but I went on a bit of a ramble. Either way, let me break that down for you. Do well on your English test. Apply early, because the longer you wait, the more age points are going to decrease. And if you have 2 degrees or a 3-year degree plus a 1-year postgrad, for instance, then you're okay to be able to max out on the points. Okay?
Spot on.
Cool. You know what? Let's wrap this up, but I also want to talk about what people need to know. And what I mean by that is this, is that, a lot of people are like, I don't know about you, but I get this a lot. What's going to happen in the draws? When are they going to do this? When are they going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I have to check my crystal ball, and I'm going to get some lottery tickets too. So we don't really know, but we have to read between the lines. One of the biggest indicators is I find, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is my opinion, John, but we have something called an immigration levels plan. And so each year, generally in the fall, the immigration minister comes out and they say, we're going to bring 400,000 or 300,000 people to Canada, right? And then what they do is, based on the policy and based on what the government's immigration priorities are, they take that number and then they slice it off into different categories, right? And they'll slice it off into like the economic categories, the family categories, the refugee and humanitarian type categories, for instance. And basically this is all like government mandate / policy driven. Like when Prime Minister Trudeau came into power originally for the first time there, one of the priorities that, he wanted to do was basically settle in some Syrians. That's when Syria was, I don't want to say out of control, but it was on the world's radar. It was in the news cycle, and Canada wanted to lead support there. So he took a chunk out of that and said, we're going to bring in 50,000 refugees into Canada through this. We're going to settle 50,000 Syrians. It would come out of those immigration levels, right?
Yeah. But
I think what's important for people to know is that no matter who's in power, the numbers really come from the economic programs, from the economic programs. I would say the federal economic programs. Would you agree with that, John?
Yeah, the majority of it does. And then also it's also worth adding, it really doesn't matter which political parties in power, they all support these high levels of immigration. So if you're ever worried, I hear Canada's having a federal election, the chances of a wild swing downwards in those numbers is not going to happen.
Well, and the reason for that is something that I like to quote quite a bit, is because Canada, I always joke, we're running a pyramid scheme here. And basically what it is that we need people working and we need workers because we have all these really great retirement benefits, Canadian pension, the old age security, all of these different things, the medical system, and you need workers here. And we have an aging population like a lot of the world. So we have to bring in people. And the statistics is that, previously it was like in the 70s, it was like 6 to 1.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting down at like currently 3 to 1. And by 2035, we're going to be at 2 to 1 if we don't change that out. So we need to bring in more people to be able to bolster those numbers and keep the pyramid scheme going, or the Ponzi scheme that we have here, right? So we need workers, and that's why they're doing that. Now, this isn't just Canada. Canada has, there's going to be a shortage of human capital worldwide in most Western countries. So anyways, do you want to leave it there, John?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think, and guys, reach out if you have more questions about express entry and your own personal situation. We can always see where you're at and how to improve your situation.
Cool. John, I'm going to let you go, buddy. I think that's enough for today. Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out or, leave us some comments, and we'll certainly try to address those. Hopefully we haven't confused more in that respect, but we'll just leave it at that. All right. Hope you're well. Take care, John. See you later, buddy.